What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Prospects Overload presented by Prospects Worldwide. I am your lovely host, as always, Drake Mann. You can follow me on Twitter at DrakeMann4. I'm joined by my co-host, Austin Farmer. Austin, say hello.
What's up, everybody? I hope everyone is having a great day whenever they're listening to this. And I'm really excited for this one because you're the guy that you're about to introduce, man. What a fun episode this is going to be.
Yeah, Austin, we're both on spring break, so we're celebrating, and we got, the perfect guy to celebrate with. I mean, you guys may know him in the prospect community. He's making waves in the Giants community. I mean, he's probably the most followed guy in the Giants community. So we're going to be talking to Giant Perspective. Say hi.
I auto-muted myself already. Come on. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be. I mean, it's nice to be here. I mean, I'm a former Prospects Worldwide. I mean, in spirit, I still am. Nice to drink here. I mean, the last time that I was in a podcast with Prospects Worldwide, it was with John Giles and Jake. So it's nice that you have the horns now, baby.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. I've been an amazing host. I mean, I'm totally amazing. Austin's just, he's just a co-host. He's nothing.
Yeah,
nothing too big, but
I'm the cringe sidekick, pretty much.
Yeah, he tried to host one time, and it just wasn't good. So
nah, I leave the responsibility to Drake. It's all him. I'm the quote unquote co-host, but we know Drake runs the show.
Yeah, I'm just that awesome. Okay, so
yeah,
just because you've been here longer.
All right, so Austin, we're going to start it off with everyone's favorite of start bench cut. But while we have Giant Perspective here, this is going to be only start bench cut. This one's a doozy because I know that one of you guys have a very hot take here. It's between Marco Luciano, Averson Arteaga, and Jimmy Glowinski. So Austin, let's hear yours to start off.
All right, well, this is an interesting one because I'm really high on all three of these guys. Okay, man, you always come up with tough ones, but I'm gonna have to go with. I almost went with starting Averson Arteaga, but he hasn't played as much as Luciano, so I'm gonna have to start Luciano for that factor alone. But I'm super high on Arteaga. So for that, I'm going to bench him and I'm going to cut Glowinski, but I do like Glowinski. He's a Dallas Baptist guy. The bat is, but he's a good fielder. So that's my take before I go into ramble.
And Austin, that is a very good take, but I know that Renzi has something here that he wants to just share. So Renzi, go ahead.
I mean, not a problem, not a big deal. I mean, if I'm the manager and it is for the sake of winning, I'm benching Marco Luciano and I'm putting Iverson Arteaga at shortstop.
Okay.
Because I mean Marco Luciano is not the best fielder at shortstop in the world. Not gonna lie. I mean, think of the bigger bodied shortstops in the majors. You have Corey Seager, you have Tim Anderson, who are like average fielders. But I mean, Luciano's just worse defensively, and I'm putting him out of the shortstop and putting him in corner out.
Dude.
I mean, in some ways you can put him in, but defensively are better. And Glowinski, I love the guy, and he's been exceptional at second base in San Jose this year. I mean, I have some San Jose former teammates of his last year that told me that Glowinski is one of the best defenders on that team. So yeah, I'd put Arteaga at short. I'd put Glowinski at second, and I'd put Luciano. But for the sake of start bench cut, I'm sorry, Glowinski. I'm gonna have to cut you. And Luciano is going to the bench as a pinch hitter, like the superstar pinch hitter. I'd have Arteaga play at shortstop.
Wow, that is very interesting. And Mr. Glowinski, if you do end up watching this podcast, just know he is very sorry to have to cut you, but that is partially on me. So
we all love you, Jimmy. And also, Renzi, I would like to point out that in my scouting report that I did of Luciano, I did say that he's probably going to move over to third, and I can see outfield possibilities as well. So I definitely agree with your take there. honestly. Well, I mean, not necessarily a start bench cut, but where he's going to end up. So
See,
Spicy takes with you later.
oh, okay. All right, so Austin, Renzi, that was very informative on your guys' takes, and Renzi, that was very, very interesting with Luciano, and I gotta agree somewhat. I mean, his strikeout numbers are very, very worrisome for me. I know that he's young, but I mean, his video during Arizona Fall League, he just looked like he didn't try and didn't really care. But I liked Arteaga. I saw one game of him, and he looked very, very athletic, and his bat actually impressed me a lot. So I would bench Luciano as well, and I'd start Arteaga and cut Glowinski. And I'm sorry, Glowinski, but I think that he's on surprise a little bit. I mean, he had a 367 on base percentage and an 811 OPS with 13 home runs. So I know that he's a good fielder, but if that bat develops anymore, he could become a staple for the Giants.
Yeah, I mean for Arteaga, I feel that when I watch his games in San Jose last year, I think his internal clock is a little too fast. I think once that slows down, I think we're all going to see how good of a defender can be. And for Luciano, I think that his fastballs, I mean, he's swinging under, or he's swinging through fastballs. I mean, he was just pretty overpowered at times, and he was specifically swinging for breaking balls. I mean, I think that's the key things that I saw when Luciano struggled in Eugene this year or last year.
Now, Runzi, that is very interesting. So you're basically saying that he's guessing breaking ball every time, or he's looking breaking ball, and then he just can't adjust right now.
Yeah, I mean, his approach primarily when he was in Eugene at his worst was like first pitch swinging, or he was going to take the count to full and swing at breaking balls. So in the end, he was swinging through fastballs that looks very, very tempting, and he was just swinging through it. I mean, it's in the zone, and he's swinging through it. So that's pretty concerning. At the same time, I mean, you just gotta give the person some time, the onus to develop. I mean, minor leagues is not the finished product. If he's still developing his approach, or he's still refining, I think that's pretty fine. I mean, Luciano's just like, I don't know, 20. I mean, he's just like as old as you, Drake. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. But I'm just not really that high on Luciano right now. If he impresses this year in Eugene, I mean that's just flipping the script all around.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Austin, do you have any more thoughts on this, or are you good?
Yeah, I will say that from what I was getting at the AFL and from what people were saying, Luciano just gets really tired at the end of the season, and that's kind of what showed there. So I think that if he can build up endurance, I guess, or find a way to stay consistent throughout the season and still, play with energy, that will help out his game out a lot too, because he is young. He'll be 20 this season, so I think maybe that the more he gets into routine and rhythm, is also, this was his first year in the States, I believe, so that might have been something that he struggled with. So who knows, maybe, very, very valid points. And I did have his hit at a 55 when I did the report, so I think it had dropped to like a 50 after AFL. But yeah, like you said, he could flip the script, and I think that maybe with time he just continues to figure things out and just unloads. I think that's my take on that.
Yeah, that's
Drake? When it was still AZL.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting, guys. Okay, all right. So now we're gonna move on. We're gonna push forward, and we're gonna go to stat of the day. And Renzi, I know you do listen to these, and I know you love stat of the day. So we're gonna do the highest home run per. Okay, so this is highest percentage of home runs per fly ball. That makes sense. Across all of minor league baseball. So basically, when this guy hits a home run, what's the percentage that it's a home run? So number one, which amazes me, because I never thought that this dude was going to be or this prospect was going to be anything more than a replacement level player. Griffin Conan of the Marlins had a 48.6% home run per fly ball. Number 2, Trey Cabbage of the Twins at 34.2%. 3, Baron Radcliffe of the Phillies at 33.3%. Micker Adolfo at number 4 with the White Sox at 33.3%. And number 5, Khalil Lee with the Mets at 32.6%. You guys have any thoughts on that top 5 before I keep going?
I mean, the first thing that I noticed is Trey Cabbage. What a nostalgic name. What a nostalgic prospect. I followed him back in 2015. He was drafted in the 4th round, if I recall, and I'm just surprised that he's still making some sort of a comeback, or like he's still making some noise after like, I don't know, 6 years in the minors. I mean, that's pretty pleasant to see. And I mean, Griffin Conan. Oh, what the hell? I saw the difference between the first and the second. It was like, oh my god. He just hits home runs whenever he hits it in the air, baby. What the hell?
Yeah, Griffin Conine is Jeff Conine's son, and he was popped with PEDs at one point. And he always mashed, but for him to be first is a little bit shocking because, I mean, at the same time, I guess it makes sense because he only hit 218 in 2021. And I get, don't stat scout, but it pretty much just shows that he's a home run or bust type player. And I got to say, the only other name that I'm familiar with on that list is Khalil Lee of the Mets. And honestly, I don't think I tracked him at all last year. So this is kind of surprising to me.
See, boys, I want to just continue because just doing more research, other players in the top 50. So I want you guys to remember that top 5 really fast. At number 12 is Mark Vientos, so the Mets, at 29.4%. And then number 14 on the list is Yerlin Confident out of the Red System, who I covered in my Arizona Complex League report. Number
Also
15, MJ Melendez, 28.7%. Number 28, Francisco Alvarez out of the Mets system, 26.4%. And number 31, Julio Rodriguez, 26.0%. That all those names are ahead of those guys. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, Alvarez is only 19 too, so that kind of makes sense in that he's still developing his game quite a bit, and he eventually, I feel, will end up getting up there. And MJ Melendez is a bit shocking that he's that low. Everyone knows he hit 41 bombs, and he just hits tanks. Like I saw him in San Antonio, the bomb that he hit was just gone the moment it left his bat. So I do think that is a bit shocking that these guys are ahead of him, but come to think of it, like it kind of feels like a lot of these guys are more seasoned in the minors, I think. What do you think there, Renzi?
I mean, I had a feeling about Alvarez when I was still in Prospects Worldwide, when I was editing the Mets prospect list, and I was just very, very pleased with the skill set. I mean, he's an advanced hitter with a pretty strong arm at catcher, and that's pretty amazing. And to see him in the list, I mean, I was not really expecting him to be like an extreme fly ball hitter or like an extreme booster of home runs, because his hit tool's just really, really good. But I mean, it's pleasant. It's more pleasant to see him, I think, just a hair ahead. And I mean, J-Rod is just special. He's really pretty expected of him because of the new way of thinking that they're implementing with their hitters. So yeah, interesting.
So Austin, that is very interesting. But I do want to bring up one thing where you said that they're more seasoned. A lot of them are, but number 3 on the list, Baron Radcliffe, he was drafted in 2020 by the Phillies. So I just feel like it's more approach than anything. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I can agree with that. And yeah, I like Renzi said about Alvarez's hit, like it's he's got a more advanced approach. And I do think that Vientos, I like his name on there as well. I feel that he is he's also got a solid hit tool, but yeah, these guys are more focused on like putting the ball in the air. So I can definitely agree with that on this top 5.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Renzi, did you want to put anything else, or are you good?
Yeah, I think I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, all right. Well, we're bringing in a new segment. We're gonna move on. That was fun, of course. Out of the day, everyone's favorite, presented by moi. But we're gonna do a segment called Below or Above. Normally, we do, which is what we're gonna be doing. But this one is actually or pre-picked names, and basically, we're just gonna say a name, and then you guys are gonna say below average or above average. So if you say below, they're below average that you think it for their career. If you say above, that means that you think that they will be above average, and then you'll just explain why. So our first name, Royce Lewis. What do you guys think?
Below.
I think it's going to be below as well.
It's very interesting. I'm more on the middle because I know that the talent is there, but the injury concerns are going to start piling up.
Yeah, and as he continues to get older, he's going to get out of shape more once he gets past his prime, and that could really catch up to him in his after those years. So I would have to say that, especially if he even hits that it would be below for Royce.
The thing for me is that Royce's swing is a little bit too noisy for my liking to project him moving forward. I mean, I wish that after the injury or while he's rehabbing, he's also fixing or cleaning up his swing. So hopefully, by the time he's fully healthy, I hope that we can see a much better swing from him, because currently with his current swing, it's tough to envision anything than just an everyday role for him.
Yeah, and one more thing, it does seem like even before he was still very raw while he was playing. Like even he was drafted 2017, and the times that I did see him after the draft, like you said, his swing needs to be cleaned up. I think his overall game was just very raw.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Our second one is going to be Drew Waters. Now, Austin, I know you did a scouting report, so
yeah, I don't know. This one's tough. I want to say he's right at average, but I don't think that for the point of this segment. Honestly, at the time, I was really high on Drew Waters, and I still like Drew Waters, and I think that he'll be good. But I think overall, he'll end up being below average, believe it or not. I think that he kind of took a step back a little bit in 2021, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch much of him in 2021, so I can't really say what his game was like at that time. But from what I did see, like clips and everything, he just felt like a different player,
I mean, for me, I think 2021, I mean, the stoppage of the cancellation of the minor league season really hampered his momentum. I think he's pretty much on a very good trajectory to the majors pre 2020, and then 2020 just hit like a truck on everyone. So I think that's stopped his momentum, and he was like pretty lost. I mean, ever since he was an amateur, I was on the high guy on Drew Waters, and I watch a few of his clips because I was a big fan of his last season, and I mean, spark much confidence in him and for me anymore. But I'm hopeful that he can still find a role in Atlanta pretty soon.
Yeah, to your point, Renzi, he did reach AAA, or he was in AAA the entire season for 2021. So I think that maybe like a late season call for 2022 happens. But yeah, that was a very good point about how 2020 just really affected him. Because like I said, it felt like he was a different player. And I think that, yeah, it definitely hurt his momentum. And moving forward, like he still might be decent, but I definitely feel like he's not the player that everyone thought he was going to be, which is a really honestly, it's kind of sad because he had all the potential in the world, even going back to his high school days, like you said.
See, the Braves actually have had a few guys that just, they looked like they were going to be absolute studs, but they're starting to fizzle out really quickly. Drew Waters, Christian Pache, both of them, like, they were hyped to be like they're starting outfielders, and they just haven't taken advantage yet. All right, guys, speaking about potential, our number 3 on this list is Nolan Jones. What do you guys think, below or above?
I'm going to say above average. I really like his hit tool, his power. It is developing and everything. He's a guy that I didn't watch as much of in 2021, but watching some archive games, I really like his approach. He's a good defender. I think he's going to be an above average player overall.
I mean, for me personally, I think it's just going to be like just an average player. But I mean, I like Nolan Jones, and I think that the Guardians have done a pretty good job developing their hit tool centric hitters, or like hit tool centric hitting prospects. And Nolan Jones has like one of the best power hit combos out of that system this season, and he played a pretty decent third base. I mean, it's not really Jose Ramirez levels of defense, but I think he's going to produce pretty well in the majors once he gets here. But I mean, for me, I'm just on the pretty conservative side of him, so I think it's just going to be an average. But I can definitely see him exceeding those expectations.
Yeah, those are really good points, guys. And now, Runzi, you added 3 names to this. The first one, this one's pretty easy for me personally, but below or above Kyle Harrison?
Yeah, so for Kyle Harrison, I'm going to say he's going to be above average. He's got some really filthy stuff. He's got command of his stuff. He's going to eat a lot of innings. He's like, going to be 20 years old this year, so he's still overall, he's still developing, let's say. And I think that just the Giants, Renzi, I'm sure you're really excited for him, which we know you are, but let's hear your take.
I mean, I thought you're going to say below average because you picked Daniel Espino ahead of Kyle Harrison's in the first episode. So I was honestly thinking that you're going to pick like somewhere at least below average.
No, I mean, I still I like Kyle Harrison, and I think he's going to be a stud pitcher, but just overall, I like Daniel Espino's stuff better. But like I've mentioned before, that I do think that Harrison will eat more innings. He's got cleaner mechanics, but I think that for what I see in Espino between the two, I like Espino's potential higher, but I still think that Kyle Harrison will be honestly a well above average pitcher.
Well, for me, I mean, he's my number 1 Giants prospect entering the 2022 season ahead of Marco Luciano. So of course I'm going to say above average because I mean, at his worst, his fallback is a Josh Hader type of a pitcher. Like from the left side, he has a 4.5 feet release point, and he throws up to 98 right now in a starting role. But I can definitely see him hit that triple digit hit, man, with such movement. Like lateral movement above the strike zone is something that is never heard of, or like there are only a handful of pitchers that can do that. And you pair it up with a nasty slider that he developed during the season, where he found this in August and was just shoved all season. And he personally said that his body was not feeling that well towards the end of the season while he's dominating. I mean, that's a testament of what he could come this year. I mean, that's just at his worst. At his best, if he added a changeup and he developed his strike throwing, oh my God. Like, we're talking about, oh my God, one of the best pitching prospects in the Giants system since like Madison Bumgarner. And I think that he can be better. I mean, the best pitching prospect in the Giants system in the past 20 years was Lincecum. And I think that he's touch that Lincecum levels of prospect hype after the 2022 season if everything goes well.
Wow, that is a hot take indeed. Very hot take. I mean, not as much as Caden's Reindeer Rosarena take, but that is a very hot take.
He is my Luis Pinto, man.
It's Juan Pinto.
Oh, Juan Pinto. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Luis Pinto, whoever you are. That's my Juan Pinto.
Oh, dude, you just triggered Caden, man. Oh my goodness.
But at least my Juan Pinto.
Folks, Caden Schmidt is now he's now very angry if he listens to this. So
Is he in the chat? Is he in the chat?
Caden will be the first angry commenter that we have on this episode or on this podcast.
Yeah, that's pretty true. But we're gonna move on to Cade Tavalli now. And Runzi, this was another guy that you wanted to add in.
I thought of putting 3 pitchers because we had 3 hitters, so to kind of even things out. And personally, I am on the above average on Cade Tavalli. I was a big fan of him when I watched the Shriners in like 2020. He pitched very well. I was into the hype train. He was one of my top 2020 guys that I like for the Giants to pick, along with Soderstrom. But unfortunately, we got Patrick Bailey, so that's pretty sad. So I mean, Cavalli, we saw the potential that he had last year. He was a strikeout king in the minors last year. I mean, he could have been second with when Ryan Murphy got injured at the back half of the season. But I mean, Cavalli is still a strikeout king nonetheless. He has exceptional stuff. Like his arsenal is good for a starting pitcher in the majors right now. I mean, the only worry about him is his injury history and how the Nationals can handle injuries is not really the best. So I'm pretty skeptical on Cavalli's injury chances. I'm still very high on the pitcher. He throws strikes very well and has a starter frame, starter stuff, and he's awesome.
Yeah, I really like your take, Renzi, and I'm really high on Cavalli as well, or Cavalli, however you say it. Cade, if you listen to this, please correct me. But yeah, you know, Cavalli is a really. I understand the injuries and everything, but man, he's got a hammer curveball. Like it's got 12-6 depth. It's got sharp bite. He can pound the corners. You know, like you said, he's got good control. I wouldn't say that his control is phenomenal or anything, but he can locate the corners. He can hit inside. He can create ground balls. And apparently, you know, reportedly he hit 100 miles per hour with his fastball, and he's consistently upper 90s. So just I think there's a lot to like about Cavalli, and just the main thing is whether he can stay healthy or not. I would say that he does a pretty good job of repeating his mechanics from what I've seen, and he does pitch from a mid 3/4 arm slot, so maybe he can figure out something a little bit more deceptive. But just the way that he hits inside corners and just that curveball, man, I really love his curveball.
Yeah, what's interesting there is he dropped in the draft because of that. If you guys remember, he was actually being projected pretty high in the draft, but he dropped because of his injury history, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he ended up going 22nd overall, and yeah, I don't think that he was ever what was he projected to be, like top 5, top 10? I don't think he was.
He was projected to go to the Giants.
Yeah, Ramsey,
number 11, I believe.
I'm sorry that
I'm crying.
I'm sorry that they took Bailey. If it makes you feel any better, I'm still mad that the Rangers took Justin Foscue, which you know is a foreshadowing of a later segment over Garrett Mitchell. So it happens, but just Cavalli is a stud.
He absolutely is.
Yeah. Guys, we've talked about Royce Lewis, Drew Waters, Nolan Jones, and then Renzi with Kyle Harrison and, you know, his favorite his fandom. Cade Tavalli, and now our last guy that we're going to talk about. Let's talk about Shane Bazz. Is he below average or above average? What do you guys think?
Honestly, man, for me, I don't know. This is a tough one. I want to say he's going to be honestly an average pitcher. I know he had a lot of hype coming through the system, and he is from Texas, so I have a bias for him, but I'm still going to go above average for this segment. I will say though, he looked so good coming up through the system, but the bit of time that he had in the majors, he looked so overmatched, and he looked like he was still, trying to adjust to a lot of things. And I get he's young. It was his first taste of the bigs, and a lot of that could change. So I still think he's gonna be above average, but I will say that it did give me question marks overall. So for this segment, I am gonna say above average in the fact that he still has a lot to figure out, and he has a lot of time to figure that out since he's like what 20, 21, 22. I know he came out of the 2017 draft, and that was 5 years, or I guess he's gonna be 23 this coming season then. So yeah, I think he's gonna be fine in the bigs, and I don't know. This is a tough one. Renzi, what do you have?
Before I would say above average, but last year I'm going to say just about average, quite honestly, because personally I was very, very high on Shane Baz when I watched him in the All American Classic. Was very impressed with this electricity in his right arm, and I gave kudos to the Rays staff for developing him well. The Pirates just sucked at developing. So yeah, and I gave credit to the Rays, and I mean, personally, he's hit those expectations of him. Like he will be like a frontline starter, but personally, right now, I'm going to say he's going to be like, personally, he could be just as good as Glasnow is right now, but I'm still on. Just like you, Austin. I'm still on the I don't know. I don't know. Let's see what he's made of this year in the majors, that type of thing. Because when he was, yeah, I agree with you. When he was licking his chops in the majors last year, when he's just struggling to his controlling. He was overpowering. Don't get me wrong, but there's still a lot of adjustments that he should do to be an exceptional pitcher in the majors. And yeah, he's developed well, and the sky is the limit for him. But let's see, because there's still a lot of challenges for him to check.
Renzi, I like that you brought up the Rays developmental staff, but I got to go above average just because it's the Rays. Every year they're bringing up somebody, a non-prospect, or they're trading prospect, and they turn in absolute studs. Look at Peter Fairbanks. Who knew about that guy before the Rays got him? And now everybody knows who that is just because he is now a stud. But I also want to mention, I'm sorry, Pirates fans, but that Chris Archer trade is the worst trade in baseball history to date. I will say that right now.
Yeah, they gave up Meadows, Glasnow, and Bazz for Chris Archer, who at the time was a really good pitcher, but just was he worth that package? Like, hell no. I don't know whatever was going through the front office's mind. Just, oh man, that I feel for you Pirates fans.
That's a big sad.
Yeah, sorry, Pirates fans.
But you know what? I'm very impressed with the Rays as well, because I remember I'm back a couple of years ago. The Giants traded for Joe McCarthy for like a little known pitcher named Jacob Lopez, who was drafted in the 26th round in like 2018, if I recall correctly, and now one of the 30 best prospects this organization. And like, what the hell were their minor league prospects? How can they get a away with this highway robber. And I don't know.
I mean, honestly, talk about Jonathan Aron. He comes out of nowhere. I mean, the Rays are just constant this, and they continue to do it.
Yeah, and like I think everyone knew that Glasnow was going to be good. Like he had a lot of potential, but before he was hurt last season, like even some other members of Prospects Worldwide and I were talking, and Glasnow was our favorite for him to win the AL Cy Young last year before he got hurt, and he still could end up winning a Cy Young. He just has to stay healthy, but just the development of the Rays is just nuts, and they do use the bullpen a lot, and they use an opener, and whatever system they have going there, they I don't know what they do in their sleep, but they got the juices flowing, man. I'll leave it at that before I make it cringe.
You've already made it cringe.
They got the sauce.
Austin Renzi, we're gonna move forward again, as I keep saying. We have been talking a lot about prospects. This is actually going to be one of our longest episodes. But you know what? It's fun because we know that people enjoy stuff like this. So
they do? Oh,
they do. I don't know how. I mean, just two guys, one of them is a totally handsome dude with glasses. The other guy looks like he got kicked in the head by a horse, but that's
says the guy who looks like a thumb person. Like literally, Drake, you're shaped like a thumb. For anyone who watches, if you remember the Spy Kids movies, the thumb people in the Spy Kids movies, that's what Drake looks like.
Now, folks, if you go to my Twitter, there is an actual picture of me as my profile picture. If you look at Austin's, it'll make you puke. So, all right, let's just move on here. We're just gonna move on here. So now I feel like relievers nowadays are starting to become more and more important. However, I don't think that there's a few relievers that don't get talked about enough. Now, I want each of us to say a reliever, prospect reliever that has elite potential. What do you guys think? Austin, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I got to go with a biased pick, honestly. I got to go with Burl Caraway. Burl is from my hometown. He graduated from the same high school that he did. I got to say the development of Burl has been outstanding. He went from a right-handed catcher as a freshman in high school to a left-handed starting pitcher who showed potential, but he was only topping out like mid 80s to upper 80s. So, he was looking like a college prospect who maybe might not have done much. I honestly thought he was going to get cut after his first season at Dallas Baptist, and ends up he met Clayton Kershaw, who kind of became his mentor. And next thing you know, he's hitting 98 with a hammer curveball, and he is going to struggle with control. He's never been a control artist. As a matter of fact, he had more walks in innings pitched last season, which is a major concern. But I think that once he's a finished product, he's going to be a lights out reliever. He was actually projected to be the first 2020 draft pick to reach the big leagues, and that didn't happen, of course. But I think that he makes his debut in 2022.
That is very bold, Austin. That is very bold. But I mean, I have a very bold take coming up too. But Renzi, let's hear yours.
I'm not really that connected with this guy, unlike Austin, who's like someone who's like his neighbor or some sort. But I'm staying at home with my expertise, which is the Giant system, and I'm going to go with RJ Dabovich, who is one of the best, if not the best, relievers the Giant system. And the perks of the Giant system is that we have a lot of relievers who are major league potential relievers. And Dabovich is definitely the best out of the bunch. He had a almost 20K per 9 rate in Eugene last season, which is high A, and then he got promoted, and he actually struggled a bit with typical reliever BABIP gods, etc. But his FIP, he stayed at around below 2, and his strikeout rate is still really, really good. And I mean, this guy, he can throw up to 98, up to 99 miles an hour, and he's a north to south pitcher. But the Giants are not heavily focusing on that north to south approach as much as other teams are concerned, because they they like their breaking balls to have a little bit of lateral movement in them. Not I mean not unlike the true 12 to 6 break, have that, that lateral separation of sort. And he is a wipeout reliever with nasty stuff, and he can throw strikes, and not just strikes, but quality strikes on both his fastball, who can touch 99, and his hammer in the mid 80s. So I mean, this is a guy who was drafted in 2020, who, like Burl Caraway, could make to the majors in 2022. So I'm excited to see him pitch in Sacramento. Hopefully, he can be in the contention as one of the relievers in the big league club this year.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think we all pick guys that we think are going to be up with the club in 2022. Is that right, guys?
Yes, that sounds about it.
Because mine, he was just drafted in 2021, third round pick with the Padres. I did see him a little bit at the ACL, and this guy's changeup is absolutely disgusting. I got to go with Kevin Kopps. I know ERA doesn't really matter, but he advanced 3 levels. He spent some time in rookie ball, and ended up in Double A, making a jump from high A to Double A for a little bit. And he had a 0.61 ERA this year in 14.2 innings pitched, but struck out 22 batters. And what amazes me too, he was a 3rd round pick. That's just amazing to me. He's a 3rd round pick as a reliever, and he is already 25 years old. So I think what's going to happen is he's either going to make the camp out of spring training, or he'll spend some time in Double A, rise to Triple A, and then make it to the majors at some time in 2022.
That's awesome.
Right on.
Awesome.
Wow, guys, thanks for the support. I can tell that.
Hey, we got you, Drake. We got you, fam.
I mean, was he the Golden Spikes winner? I think he is.
Oh, I think he was a finalist. Yeah.
Renzi, you did just mention that he did win the Golden Spikes Award. That is on me for not researching that a little more. But
that's totally fine.
For him to win the Golden Spikes Award, for him to drop to round 3, I get that he's a reliever, but that's pretty interesting in its own right.
Yeah, and I guess you could consider him as like a high risk, high reward type pitcher coming out of the draft. Even with the Golden Spikes, there's still a lot of risk with relievers, and that once they reach the pros, they just kind of crap out. But I think that the exact opposite happened for Kopps, and so it is really something to notice with the development of Kopps.
And I mean, he was like 23 when he was drafted. So I think teams that are like heavily focused on the age of prospects are like concerned about that. But I mean, we have seen the trends at times where they are drafting like 22-year-old college pitchers who have the stuff, but they didn't care anywhere because they have the stuff. But that's the most important thing. They have the stuff, no, regardless of age, as long as you have the stuff, and they see that they see that the potential that can control it one day, even though you can reach the majors in like 27 or 28, they don't care as long as you get outs. And I mean, baseball is simple. It's just getting outs.
Yeah. And I like what you said about the stuff, because I could tell you, the Padres actually have a kind of a reclamation project. If you guys remember who I'm going to botch this name on, I'm sorry, Joe BML, he's actually in the Padres system at 40 years old, and he's throwing 97 from what I was seeing. So that's pretty interesting. If you have the stuff, they will find you.
Oh, they will. They will. I mean, that's just hats off to the scouts, man. Hats off to the scouts.
And maybe all 3 of us have a future in the scouting. So
Let's hope so,
Hey,
man. That's the goal. That scouts, if y'all find this, keep us in mind someday.
All right, guys. So let's move on. We talked about some elite relievers, which I love. I think we're gonna bring that back again, and we can talk more. But here we go. Here's where we make a lot of people mad. Overrated, underrated. We've had guys like Jason Dominguez as overrated. We've had guys like Anthony
Anthony
Volpe,
Volpe.
and we've also had a certain guy that I know Renzi already has on his list. And Austin, you've actually talked about him before, but let's hear it from Renzi. Who is
hey.
your overrated prospect?
I mean, I'm keeping it at home, and I I don't know why they're still high on him, and I'm going to pick Patrick Bailey as my overrated prospect, at least in the Giants organization, to say the least. But I mean, there are a couple of overrated prospects in the Giants organization, so I'm picking Patrick Bailey because last year, I mean, the Giants are conservative with their injuries. When they sense an injury with you, they will keep you in the shot for a long time. So when Bailey was injured in late June, when he was still in Eugene, he was batting around below 200. He was awful, like literally awful. And the injury only flared up in late June. So that performance beforehand are not caused by injury most likely because they never let you play through injury, the Giants organization. So what did they do? They shelved him and then they put him in Arizona and then they demoted him in San Jose. So they literally flipped their catchers mid-season. And that's just the hand. I mean, the Giants showed their hand. Who is their preference with? I mean, that other catching prospect his name is Ricardo Hinoves. So just keep it in mind. So Hinoves was really good in San Jose, and Bailey in September he was also very good in San Jose. So what you were expecting from Hinoves, the same thing happened with Bailey. So I mean, when you think of first round prospects who were drafted in 2020, was given a lot of love, like a lot of attention, and you see him perform well, and you say, "Oh, did he pitch? Did he play in Double A? No, he played in Single A, in Low A. He actually got demoted, and that's really sus. I mean, I think you guys saw him in the fall league, so I mean, I can get your opinions on him, but for me, that show of hand that he looked very unathletic to start the season when he was given a lot of love by the organization as a first round pick, that's pretty sus to me. And I mean, if you close your eyes and think, who was their first pick? Was it Kyle Harrison? No, Kyle Harrison was a third round pick and Bailey is the first rounder. So yeah, he's actually very overrated in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Renzi. And I gotta say, I ended up going back, and as I was finishing up my risers and shiners, the Giants were one of the last teams that I had to do. Those lists are coming out very soon, by the way. We're in the works of publishing them, but I was watching for, I believe it was Will Bednar, and there was a game towards the end of the season, I believe, where Patrick Bailey was the catcher. And don't quote me on this, anyone, because my memory is a little bit fuzzy with who it was that I was scouting, but I do remember that Bailey was the catcher. And from what it looked like going back, like Bailey could not handle heat, man. Like people were hitting him high and inside, and he just was like having half swings. Like just, I don't like his bat. I felt his glove was average. And, even if you're a decent catcher with you don't have to hit, but if you can do one or the other really good, you're going to have a job. And just, I don't know. I don't see so much in Patrick Bailey anymore. Not that, this was an entire segment about Patrick Bailey, but just to add to your discussion there. And from that, we'll go on to my pick for overrated. And I did foreshadow earlier that the Rangers had chosen Justin Foscue over Garrett Mitchell in the 2020 draft. And I want to say that Justin Foscue is so overrated, man. He's a power first bat. He doesn't honestly, he didn't look athletic at all in the AFL. I know he's got a thicker build. A lot of his swings just seem like they seem effortless swings, not in a good way. Like he can just flick his bat out there and hit. It was just like he didn't care. And I can understand him being tired or whatever, but I don't see, honestly, his bat is just so bad to me. I can see him hitting maybe 25 bombs, 30 bombs. So maybe 55 power, let's say, but just he's going to come with a lot of swing and miss. He's a third baseman now. Honestly, I can see him as a DH role eventually. I'm so disappointed that the Rangers chose Foscue over Garrett Mitchell, and it's not even playing out. Like I don't see too much potential with Foscue other than him being able to hit home runs. And like Drake, you know that I really don't like one tool players, and that's exactly how I see Foscue.
Yeah, I got to add something to that. I remember I was at a fall league game and there was a slow ground ball hit right to him and he booted it. So that was pretty interesting to see. I mean, I get mistakes happen, but yeah, that was weird to see, especially for a slow ground ball. That's routine.
I mean,
man.
For me, if I see some sort of laziness or like, I mean, you can differentiate lazy for being effortless. And if I see laziness on film, I mean, that's just a huge red flag, especially for a first rounder, because even though you got the bag as a first rounder, you should still put on the work.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. You're getting paid to play baseball. Like this is 100% your focus. And so many people around the country and around the world, as a matter of fact, would kill to be in that position. And it's just like, like, dude, take your job seriously. And that is a major red flag for me as well.
I mean, for me, if also like you also have to be in the best physical shape of your life, because 2021 they came up a COVID season, like they canceled the season because of COVID, and you have a year to prepare your body for the
Exactly.
2021 season, and you show laziness and you show unathleticism, that's pretty sus in terms of your makeup, in terms of your drive. For me, that's very red flag for me.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Renzi. So for my overrated, I've been seeing this guy a lot. He had amazing numbers in 2021, but I saw him in Arizona Fall League and I was just not impressed. The bat, I don't think is going to carry as what people think. I'm going to go with Joe Gray Jr. of the Brewers. I'm sorry. I just don't see him being anything more than a fourth outfielder. I mean, what he did in 2021, like I said, was incredible, but what he did in Fall League was absolutely terrible. So I think he had one of the lowest averages and on-base percentage in the Fall League. So, yeah. Austin, I know you saw him too, so I don't know how you feel.
Honestly, I barely remember him. I'm not even gonna lie about that. I barely remember Joe Gray Jr.
I mean, if you barely remember a prospect, if you're in person, I think that's pretty obvious of what you feel on him.
All right, boys, we just talked about our overrated prospects, but how about your underrated?
Okay, so for this segment, I am super excited to talk about this guy. He honestly has become my favorite pitching prospect. I'm talking about Miami's Yuri Perez. Perez, forgive me if I mispronounce that, but I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, is Yuri. This dude is 6'8" and like 200 pounds, and he'll be 19 in 2022. He pitched an A-ball at 18 years old in 2021, and man, he hits upper 90s. Like I saw him top out 98 in a few starts, and for him to already be upper 90s at that age, and he's got a lot of life on that fastball. His control is, he's a typical young prospect. He throws hard, and he does hit the strike zone well, but it's not going to be, he's not going to be a command pitcher by any means, but he can pound the inside corners. He knows how to pitch to hitters at such a young age. He's got a really, really solid breaking pitch. I think that honestly, he's going to be a strikeout pitcher. He'll have more than 9 Ks per strikeouts or per innings pitched, I feel. and he's still going to eat a lot of innings. Now, it's becoming harder and harder to reach 200 innings pitch. So I think maybe about 160 to 175 innings is realistic for Perez down the road, and maybe like 200 plus strikeouts. I am super, super hyped on Yuri Perez, and I'm going to cut myself short here just because we've been going at it. We've been on a roll with this podcast. There's a lot that I could talk about Yuri Perez.
We're on a roll indeed.
Literally.
I mean, for me, my one concern about Perez is his height, because the ones who make it in the majors with that height are like the exceptions, not the norm. And Perez, I mean, he's still young, so there are still a lot of obstacles that he should overcome. Because we've seen Michael Baez before the Padres. He was like the second coming of Chris Carpenter of some sorts, and then he just flamed out to non-existence. So there are a lot of challenges that Perez should overcome. But I can see the talent. I can
Yeah,
definitely see the talent.
and I can agree about the challenges, but I feel like Perez, I don't want to end up overhyping him myself, because I do feel like he is very underhyped. But I think that, yeah, 6'8" it already, meaning he could get to like 6'9", 6'10". You're right. There is an exception with those pitchers, but I do feel like Perez will fit that exception.
Austin, that's a really good underrated, because I'm a fan of Yuri Perez, and I bought an auto of his, as you know, and then I ended up giving it to you. So
Dude, I'm ecstatic. I have it on my desk here, and honestly, I hope to put it up on my whenever I get around to getting like a showcase. It'll be one of the shrine cards.
Attaboy. See, now Renzi, let's hear your underrated.
For my underrated prospect, this is a precursor on like what we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, which is around like 10 million years ago or so, because of how on a roll we are. But I will talk about Casey Schmidt. He was the second rounder for the Giants in 2020, and I talked to a few prospects in the Giants organization, and unanimously they say that Casey Smith is the first person that they talked about when I asked the question, who impressed them defensively. Even fellow Giants prospect writers, they say Casey Smith, because he is super duper good at defense. I mean, if you think of the way that he throws the baseball in defense, I associate him with Patrick Mahomes. Off platform, still have that velocity, still have that accuracy. He's super duper good with the way that he throws the baseball at third base. He also has an exceptional footwork, exceptional glove. I mean, the only thing that I have against that is his range, which is pretty below average. But man, I'm so hyped with his defense. Defense gives him that high floor, because when you think of it, the best defenders in Major League Baseball have a 3 defensive WAR. And I am pretty conservative, to be honest, to put Casey Smith's defensive WAR at around 1.5. And 1.5 WAR is already below or already fringy, as a fringy or like a backup player. Even if his bat only hits around 0 WAR, that 1.5 WAR, because of his defense, is already better than a lot of prospects in any system. In any system, he has that high of a floor as a defensive expert or a defensive standout. And if his bat comes around, last year he started his season very, very slow, and from June onwards he was very awesome. He makes a lot of contact. He is one of the lowest swings and misses in the entire Giants farm system last year. And even though his season was cut short because he fractured his wrist when he got hit by a pitch in August, there's still a lot of possibilities. So if his bat catches up to his glove, I'm very excited for what Casey Smith can become. I mean, we talk about Matt Chapman-esque. I mean, more contact than Matt Chapman, less power, but there's probably the same defensive potential.
Renzi, I love that pick mainly because Casey Schmidt went to San Diego State University,
So-
and that's one of my favorite colleges.
So Renzi, you're saying that the first Bowman Chrome autograph of Casey Smith that I have could be a really valuable card someday?
It could be. It could very, very well be. And I saw today when I woke up that one of the most impressive prospects in the camp is Casey Schmidt, and oh baby, oh my God, I woke up very well indeed. Oh my goodness, I'm very excited, man. That's why I want Luciano to play in the outfield because he will experience the same pitfalls that he experienced in shortstop in third base because he's going to field low ground balls and he needs momentum to he needs momentum to he needs that momentum to feel very well, and third base is more of a reactionary position and need to have that instincts, baby. And Luciano, unfortunately, doesn't really have it. So I want to put him in the corner outfield because Artiaga and Schmidt will defend that position. And they defend that position very, very well. And hopefully they reach the big leagues and they prove me right.
And Glowinky.
And Glowenki, he's also very good defensively. I've seen his plays, baby. Oh my God, he's also very good.
All right, guys. So those were very interesting. I got to go with mine is a very, very tall dude, and he's only 19 years old. I'm talking about 6'7" James Wood out of the Padres system. Austin, I know that you're a big fan. I think Renzi's a big fan because he seemed to look at my list and saw James Wood and he instantly got excited. But this guy can mash. And also, he's an above average runner too. I mean, I had him in the top 20 for the Arizona Complex League. I believe I had him at 11 on that list. But this guy is going to have more hit than power, I think. But I think that it'll both be at least, I think he'll have a plus hit with above average power. And he'll patrol center field better than anyone in the Padres system, not named Robert Hassel or Trent Grisham.
And I have Hassel in left, mind you.
But that is a bold statement on my end. But he tracks the ball well in center. He's going to be a stolen base threat. I mean, in the William Cedeno video that we have on Prospects Worldwide on our YouTube channel, there's a portion where you see a guy stealing second base. That is James Wood. And, that I think amazes me. So what do you guys think about James Wood?
Yeah, coming out of the draft, I honestly thought that he had a below average hit tool. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. I still think that I'm not quite as high on his hit tool as you are. I still have him power over hit. But that being said, I myself have him at 55 hit now with plus power, which is saying a lot. Just, Padres fans get hyped because y'all have a lot of Slam Diego crushers coming your way.
During the busy times or like the before Christ times of the Prospects Worldwide, the first person that Jake sent to me, the first video is James Wood. And oh my God, I was blown away. Like he hit a home run that's about eye level. Like, oh my God, he's actually a freak. He has that power. He has that feel for contact. I feel that his senior season in IMG Academy was like pretty sus. So, but I always feel that the talent's there. And when he get to the pros, and the talent was honestly very, very there. So, oh baby, James Wood. I love that guy. I wish that the Giants also picks him, but I'm so sad. So yeah, he went to San Diego. It's pretty sad.
And what's interesting though about James Wood, for a power hitter, he controls the zone very well. He draws his walks. He does swing at stuff in the dirt, but he will not I just think that he'll have continuous high on base rates, and I think that he's going to be a stud for the Padres for the future, and could even come up as a 22, 23-year-old, maybe even sooner, if he keeps hitting the way that he did.
Yeah, I can
Awesome.
see that. And yeah, he's gonna have 375 plus on bases every season. You know, just like you said, he's got a really strong approach. I think he's going to draw a lot of walks, and I also think that having the 6'6", 6'7" frame that he has, and the fact that he can just match the ball and control the zone, like you said, a lot of pitchers are going to be afraid to pitch to him, which is also going to help his walk rate.
Jake mentioned to me before that his comp is Aaron Judge because he never saw someone from the left side that big, that tall, who can control the strike zone and hit with power, even though the pitch is outside the strike zone. And yeah, left-handed Aaron Judge is actually a pretty sick comp when you think of it.
And maybe a higher batting average or higher on base, possibly.
True. Very true.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it's only an 86 at bet or a 101 plate appearance sample size, but to have a 465 on base percentage, and he stole 10 bases, boys, walking 13 times and striking out 32 in 101 plate appearances. That is not bad at all.
No, and he might not ever steal like 30 bases in a season, but I do like that number. And like you said, he's pretty fast, so he might end up stealing. Yeah, honestly, 10 sounds about right, which for his size is really impressive.
All right, boys. I think we've done a little too much into James Wood here, but hey, James Wood, if you're listening, we love you, buddy.
Can I have your
We
autograph?
love you, baby.
Can I have your autograph, James? When your first Bowman comes out, I'm going to send you TTM.
Austin, you just drove him away. Good job. But guys, let's end this on a high note. As we all know, we have a tradition here with Prospects Overload. The new guy on our podcast gets to say his top 5 favorite prospects. So Renzi, take it away with your top 5.
Oh, baby, I'm taking it away indeed. Okay, so this is not very Giants focus. I'm going to try it because I'm from the Giants or I cover the Giants, but these are the 5 prospects that I really liked personally. First is Tyler Soderstrom. I think everyone who followed me on Twitter, on Prospects Worldwide, on my blog, Giant Perspective, everywhere they see me cry about Tyler Soderstrom whenever I see his highlights because he is so special. Like when they were in the under 18 tournament in South Korea, along with Kyle Harrison, he is the most impressive hitter in that lineup, which is very, very loaded considering they have Vukovic, they have Hassel, they have PCA, they have a lot of stud hitters, but Soderstrom is the best hitter. And I was very impressed with his performance in U18. And yeah, I mean, we already know where he is at the moment. He is a legitimate top 50 prospect in all of baseball. And I'm still crying. That's the one prospect that I very, very well wish that he was a Giant, but yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna cry on this podcast, so yeah. So yeah, the second is Sal Frelick. Like Sal Frelick is super awesome. He's 5'9", so around my height, and he is very, very awesome because he can control the strike zone very well. He's a high contact hitter. He steals a lot of base. I mean, these are the type of stuff that you are not going to see very often the big leagues anymore. Those high contact, high steal rate, very good defense. That type of prospect who will remind you a lot of Brett Gardner with the Yankees. But yeah, Frelick. I mean, Frelick doesn't really have that power ceiling that you want nowadays. But the way that he creates himself advantages on getting on base, on the bases, and in defense, you will like very, very well like Sal Frelick, and I fell in love with him when I followed him very early on in the draft. So that's my second thing. My third prospect is Drew Romo. So like Soderstrom, I was also impressed with Romo, but I was very impressed when I was actually doing my deep dive on pitching prospects in the Giant system. And they faced a lot of Fresno Grizzlies, which is, the Rockies low A affiliate. So Drew Romo, I mean, I approached watching the game like I was thinking, like I was actually the pitcher, what type of pitches that I will throw next. Like game planning based on swing decisions or like swing paths. So Drew Romo was the very first prospect, in my opinion, that made me think twice as a watcher. Like if you have your best pitch, Drew Romo has it in his head, and Drew Romo will turn will make you will make you second guess yourself on what type of pitches that you throw because yeah, I mean the reports of him are that he expands his own a little bit, and I mean and he doesn't really have much power in his game. I mean, I don't really mind that because he's a catcher, but the way that he thinks is so impressive to me, given that he's also a stalwart defender. Like, he probably has the best chance to be that Sean Murphy, that next gold glove catching prospect. So I'm very impressed with him. Then next, the two are like the very unheralded but very well liked Giants prospects. So we have first is Ismael Mungia. Yeah, you never heard of him. Like who the hell is Ismael Mungia? So he's a Nicaraguan prospect in the Giants system. He played for Eugene, the High A affiliate last year, and he was the batting champion in High A West with around 330 batting average. So he's the high contact hitter, and he was never no he hit like 3 home runs his entire pro career before 2021. What did he do in 2021? He hit 9 home runs. So he improved his power output by a big margin while also keeping those high contact rate. And he is very tough to strike out. He's a slightly smaller size of a hitter, around like 5'8" or so, and his swing strike rate is one of the lowest, if not the lowest in the entire minor league system. So he's a very fun guy to follow because he also plays with a lot of passion, with a lot of fire, with a lot of excitement. I mean, he's probably the epitome of a hard-nosed player and a very exciting one. And the next one is Brian Walker. Like I talked about before, like a few minutes ago, or like I mean a few hours ago, who that the Giants have a lot of pitching prospects who are going to be potential major league relievers, and Walker is one of them. He's very unique in the fact that his crossfire is so deceptive. He starts off in the extreme first base side of the rubber, and his lead foot is actually beyond the third base side of the rubber. Think of that extreme crossfire, man. And he throws from a sidearm slot and couple that with the sinker, sinker, sweeping slider, and he can actually locate his pitch as well, which is very impressive considering that he has a lot of deception and crossfire in his delivery. So I'm very impressed. I feel like I was rapping while I was speaking, and I'm very in love with all of those five guys, and also Kyle Harrison. But I already mentioned how in love I was with him. So yeah, I mean those are the five prospects. So follow them. I like them a lot, and hopefully they will reach the big leagues and be studs.
Hey, I got to say, I love the Drew Romo pick in there. Drake and I actually both think that he could end up being a platinum glove type catcher. He's just that good behind the plate, and I do have the bias for him being a Texan and everything. And I'm kind of mad that his senior season was the COVID season, and I never got to see him in the Woodlands, which was only about
It's pretty
45
pretty
minutes away from
sad.
where I live. So I had an opportunity and I just never took it. And then that happened. So that was a bit disappointing.
It's pretty sad. But
Austin, I didn't get to see Spencer Torkelson. I was supposed to see him, and then COVID hit. So yeah, that's tragic right there. But all
I
right,
mean, I
boys.
never saw anyone. I never saw anyone because I live halfway around the globe.
Renzi, thank you so much for being on this podcast. That was very, very entertaining. We do need to close it off for now. We talked about a lot today. Like, I think Austin has a lot of work to do when he edits this down, but it should be interesting.
It'll be
Again,
fun.
watch out for and fun. Exactly. Watch out for Risers and Shriners coming out soon. We're going to get those published. I'm hoping to get a few out next week, as a matter of fact. And yeah, boys, anything else you guys want to say?
No, I got to say that it's wonderful knowing that there are Filipinos that love baseball. And Renzi, I'm really happy to have had you on here on this podcast, even though this is technically Drake's show. And it's been a blast, man.
Oh yeah, just think of it as Oreo. We're like Filipino cookies in sandwich in a Drake. Oh baby.
Oh, okay, all right.
Family friendly.
Okay, that's a very awkward ending, but on that note, peace.
Peace, everybody.
Hey. See you, everyone.